It honestly seems, right, that we spend so much of our time trying to make laws out of things that are very much movable, that very much have gray areas, and have very little capacity to be seen. And the thing is, out of context, right? Science is a catalog of past observations, and based on those past observations, we can make future predictions. And I very much feel when you feel comfortable saying something like that, right? But you gotta understand that at the same time that you get what you ask for, you have no idea what is coming. You have very little idea of what is coming. And I mean, this is the year I did, I wouldn't call it reading, like people are like, oh, I've read so many books this year. I've listened to a lot of books this year, and from the Republic, to lectures on the Republic, to famous theologians, to philosophers, to what I'm currently reading, which is a reintroduction to where I started, after, not even after, but in the midst of when I was realizing I wanted to leave school, I knew that I couldn't stop learning. And I think people leave school and they think, oh, fuck learning. And that's what they want you. That's the approach they want you to have to learning. That knowledge isn't applicable. Like you learn something and it just sits there and collects dust. Not the case. You have to learn. A lot of us learn on accident. And as I just said, you often get what you ask for, but you really have no idea what's coming. And I think about this year, right? And at first, I don't know if I said this on here, but at a certain point, I was asking for conflict, right? I was asking for conflict. It's like, oh, give me conflict. At the beginning of this year, like there were actual mask mandates, right? And based on what that mask mandate meant, I had to kick people out of my events. And the thing about what people put up this persona, right? And they're like, oh, they put a lot of work into the persona they're trying to present to you. I know a lot of these people. I bump into a lot of people who spend most of their time when we're talking trying to uphold their persona. And you tell me who you are by showing me who you're pretending to be. And that actual lack of confidence you have is very visible. And the scientific approach that I would employ to people with set insecurities is getting them to understand that need that you feel to compete gets in the way of what you might accomplish. And if you spend all your time around people who want to know you being insecure, insecurity leads to incompetence. Incompetence leads to a lack of validation. A lack of validation leads to despair. And when you're in the field, right, and you're dealing with people who only ever stay in character, you get a chance to play along, and I get to play along, and I do it expertly. You know, like I say things to people that I know they need to hear, and I know only I could say to them, and it be the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is, when you're marshaling resources, when you're organizing individuals in an effort to make something better, we're not playing the same game, right? Because very much, I'm someone who has both feet in two different worlds. I have to explain to people whose job it is to do policy what policy should be. And then I have to run 5 minutes in the other way of town to make people understand that, yes, while they're calling for a revolution outside, it's clunky. It's haphazard. And we're not here to do things that are clunky. We're here to do things that is going to change the situation. Redefine the impression that they have on what change might be. And the thing is, I say these things beautifully. But no matter how well I say them, if I don't place emphasis on the exact right place on my statement, I lose 50% of who I'm talking to. And like, there are people who are activists, and then there are people who are active. I'm very much in the entertainment industry. I'm very much in the political complex, right? And what you gotta understand is, they've commodified art. They monetized creation. They've plagiarized passion. And they've convinced you that the best way to create is to create from your heart and put it into a form of something that we call content. But a very wise friend of mine said to me the other day, as I was lambasting about how language is a spell, he's like, well, that's why they call it spelling. Let me repeat myself. I said, language is a spell. And he said, well, that's why they call it spelling. They don't need to imprison you. And I have friends, family who are imprisoned currently. By laws, we're going to move heaven and earth to change by the end of this. And the end of this is a long ways away. I'm going to be here for a while. But you got to understand, policy ain't philosophy. Politicians aren't philosophers. Historians aren't poets. Athletes aren't warriors. And the many people that we've lost along the way, they're not gone. And most of the time, I know if you listen to this thing and you listen to me talking on here, it sounds like a temper tantrum. But what you really got to get is what I grew up in, the sort of art that I admired growing up, the sort of media, television, movie, music, media that I involved myself in were two things in my mind growing up. The braggadocious nature of rap and the sort of ethical leadership of the Red Ranger. And yes, I said the ethical leadership of the Red Ranger. I might be coming from the same place as many of you, and I remember the year before last when I was getting my feet underneath me. And I was talking to groups of socialists about austerity. And I was supposed to define austerity in a very textbook way, but like when you live under gravity, do we really even need the word? When I can observe the law, I would give talks about what was going to happen. And those things would happen. And I said this to my friend Richard, because me and Richard, we talk about a lot politics all the time. And I said to him, I don't see myself. I'm trying to avoid politics in the manner that I've been invested in it. There's no way I can sound smart. And you hear me say the word smart, and I do mean the word smart, intelligent. I can't contain the thought that goes into what I think in the language politics would provide you. I could honestly tell you and explain to you why the reasons that I need my friends, my family, outside of the system of incarceration that they're currently in. I need them free, not just for personal reasons, but the systemic nature of why they're there, why they were targeted. I hear people in the same breath that they're saying people don't want to work, firing thousands. I see people involving themselves in theater, because there was a point in time, right? I was my first year of college, got 2 C's and a D in that semester, and I think it was the 2016 election, and I was just fresh out of high school. And I was talking to everyone about the election. People, Orlondo seems smart. Let's go ask him. And the thing is, it was never easier to talk about politics than when I had absolutely no fucking clue about what I was talking about. It was never easier. Talking about politics was the easiest when I had no fucking clue what I was talking about. What does that tell you? I don't relish in that. I'm not proud of that. That's the observation. What was I saying back then? Because I remember because, you got to fact check this shit. When the things you're saying don't come to fruition, that's when you're fucking up. And you're fucking up even worse when you don't realize the things that you're saying actively go against what reality is showing you. I was sitting at a place I called The Perch. After I left, you can ask John. And I said axe. They renamed it the President's something. The word president's in it. I wonder why. Like, oh, Hillary's gonna win. There's no way Trump's winning, you see? There's no way. That's what I was saying. Incredibly empty compared to the sort of things I'm saying nowadays. And the thing is, I argue with people who a while ago I thought were to my left. Whatever that means. But it's not necessarily left, right, and this is the last part of the year, so I'm going to lay my cards on the table. It's not necessarily left, right. It's up, down. We hold some moral opinions because we think it'll provide us a platform. There's no one in this world who could provide me that platform. In reality of things, there's only people I could take it from. There's no honor among thieves, but there are still thieves. And achievements don't mean much when everything is handed. But it's almost like I grew up in the last 3 years, because I can't tell you what people think of me. I could show you what I think of myself. I think I'm pretty good, pretty great, pretty great. And at this rate, I'm only getting better. But I used to say nonsense. I used to say absolute nonsense. Just basically whatever it took me 30 seconds to memorize that they said on CNN. And times have changed. Times have changed. And so have I. And that ability to remain actually open-minded comes from the fact that immediately I have a gut feeling about what the right thing might be, and I hope I have that feeling for the rest of my life. But I see so many lose it. I see a lot of people who at one point, and not even at one point, but to an extent, have that ability to trust their gut. But I could understand the sort of self-preservation necessary to excel in some of these environments. But once again, There are no honor among thieves, but yet there are still thieves. We need a bold nature. Good times create weak men. And bad men create bad times. And bad times create great men. And then great men create good times. And then good times create weak men. And so on and so forth. But if you're really thinking about it, shit don't ever slow down. Just because it's quiet here doesn't not mean it's quiet there. So, you get what you ask for, but you have no idea what is coming. And I haven't perfected, there's a sort of nature that comes along with this, like this sort of podcasting thing, this, the social media thing, clickbait. Bait that they click on. And the internet is a net, and there are many fish in the sea. And I don't have high hopes. I hope very high. And if you want to do something, stop thinking about it. Get up. Go do it.